This video is going to take you step by step through the main roller coasters you're going to want to get to right at Rope Drop at Park Open. Now, we're not going to cover every roller coaster in this video, just the main roller coasters that are either very slow loading or tend to have a long wait time throughout the day. We're going to take you step by step, location to location, so let's get to the first one.
So here we are at our first stop of the day, Flight of Fear. This one's going to be our first stop, despite not being one of the big five sort of coasters considered here. This one gets very popular throughout the day, especially on very hot, crowded days, because it's the only air-conditioned line in the park. This is my recommended path. There are other ways to do this, and you can come here later just to escape that heat, but I would recommend coming right here first, right off the bat, just to make sure you get that ride in. I've seen these lines get up to 2.5 hours before on busy Saturdays, so be sure you hit this one up first. So you've had a good early morning ride on Flight of Fear. Now it's time to come right next door to Orion. This is Kings Island's newest coaster. It's going to attract a ton of crowds on busy days. Now, most of the queue is outdoor, so again, a good one to get to before the day gets way too sweltering. You can see the train going up the track right here. Orion's times don't tend to be quite as important as it is a pretty good efficiency coaster, but you still want to get to this one early. These lines can be out of the queue. These can be an hour and a half, 2 hours. If anything goes wrong with it, if it breaks down, it's still a relatively new ride. It's a very good coaster to hit early, so let's move on to our next destination. Now that we've gotten two of the biggest rides in the park out of the way in Area 72, we're going to head over toward the back of the park, getting over toward the Beast in Rivertown, over to the Backlot Stunt Coaster. And I know what you're thinking, this is also not one of the big five rides at Kings Island, but this is a notoriously slow loader. Only 12 people per train, and this can get very busy throughout the day. If you see the turnstiles busy back under the yellow sort of awning area, don't even bother with this one. It's a great one to hit early in the day, as it's not going to take much time. It's a pretty short ride. Hop on, hop off, come back at night. It's a great night ride with the police sirens and other effects around. But it's right on the way to two of the other bigger rides that we're going to get to, so it's a great destination to stop off on our express tour. We're going to hit Mystic Timbers. This is a lot of roller coaster enthusiasts' favorite ride in the park, and a lot of people storm right here, right out of the gate. So hopefully by the time we've been on Flight of Fear, Orion, and the Backlot Stunt Coaster, people will have filtered in early, gotten their quick early rides in, and will be on the way to where we just came. Mystic Timbers can get very busy throughout the day. It is next to the children's section, and it's also next to Diamondback, so this can draw a lot of crowds in. Be sure to get to this, and then we'll head right over to Diamondback next door. At this point, we've knocked out two of the big five coasters, and we're about to get to the third. That's Diamondback right here. We're located just a little bit further in than Mystic Timbers. We're headed out toward the children's section. This is the last big coaster you'll be in before Planet Snoopy over there, or Camp Snoopy, I suppose, as they're calling it this year. Diamondback tends to get very long lines, although it is a pretty quick loader, so we're relying a little bit on that in this strategy to say most people that come over here for Mystic Timbers will probably ride Diamondback immediately after, and will, again, hopefully be headed over to Area 72 for Flight of Fear and for Orion, maybe even stopping off at the Backlot Stunt Coaster if they're following these strategies. But we should be able to get a pretty decent ride on Diamondback here. By now the crowds will likely be moving in a bit, so we may be looking at something like a 20 or 30 minute wait for something like this, but that's still much better than we're going to see it the rest of the day, and it's much better than most of the folks that went left when they came in the park will experience much later in the day. This line is okay with coverage, although you are going to be in the sun for a pretty decent amount of it, so pretty good idea to get to it early in the morning. Okay, let's head over. Now that we have our Diamondback ride in, we are going to circle all the way back through Rivertown. Now, this is the first time we're coming back, and there's good reason for it. We want to get to Mystic Timber and Diamondback. A lot of people go there right away, and a lot of people don't get to the park until about 10:45 or 11, which is probably about the time we're realistically going to get over there. And a lot of people, when they're trying to do a quick park run, will move right from Mystic Timbers right over to Orion and Flight of Fear. People that either haven't been to the park before or who just aren't very familiar with the layout will walk right by the Beast, despite the Beast tracks leading up to the coaster. Now, this is the world-famous longest wooden roller coaster in the world, and it's a great ride. And I would recommend getting on it this early. It does have a bit of a propensity to break down at times. However, be sure to come back at night. This has one of the best night rides out there. But for now, just to get everything in for our express run, be sure to get this one in, and I'll see you at the next spot. So, with 4 of our 5 big rides out of the way, we're going to take a little break and work our way all the way across the park. The thought here is that we're going to be going against most of the crowds coming in. Most of the crowds are probably going to be headed over to Orion or to Diamondback or to Mystic Timbers, and we've already knocked those out. So we're going to come clear back almost to the entrance of the park to ride Invertigo. This one is a very notoriously slow loader. It runs 1 car and 1 car only because it is a Vekoma boomerang, so it's only going to have 1 car able to run on it. There's no block brakes and it has to run back through the station. Now, this one doesn't tend to have terrible lines, but on very busy days, even a moderate line is going to seem like a really long ride on most rides because of that really low capacity. Only about 18 people per ride here, and it can get a little congested in here toward the midday. You do have some shade in this line, so you don't have to come to this one first. This would just be my preference, my recommendation for this area, and we'll go on to the next one. So we've reached our final destination on the Express Tour. This is Banshee, my personal favorite of the Big 5, except for the Beast at Night. Now, Banshee is going to be our last stop because so many people at the beginning of the park day will come right here. It's the closest of the Big 5 rides to the park entrance, so naturally, it's going to get a lot of people gravitating to this area. They're also going to go on Delirium and Invertigo and the Drop Tower and lots of other rides that will keep them away from the early rides that we've already been on, that they're already going to. Banshee is arguably the fastest loading ride of all the Big 5 rides as well, so even if that line has gotten a little long, it's going to do the least damage to your park day time. So, with Banshee, we finished out the Big 5, and we finished out our Express Tour, so at this point in time, you've knocked all the big rides out, and feel free to re-ride any that you liked in particular, or any of the other rides. Right here in the area have a couple of the other slow loaders in Delirium and the Drop Tower, so if you're into really thrilling flat rides, I would recommend doing those 2 next. But from this point in time, you're free to go, having knocked out all of the big rides. Go back, do your favorites, and remember, the Beast at Night is an absolute must.